Reggie Jackson on set at Rickwood Field, and we thought this was really interesting and great and important for you to hear. This is what Reggie said when he was asked what Willie Mays meant to him.
I think Willie Mays meant to me the same thing that he meant to most people. He was a Baryshnikov on the baseball field. As far as being given the most skills, you've got Babe Ruth, you've got Hank Aaron, you've got Lou Gehrig, you've got Barry Bonds, you've got Alex Rodriguez. These guys that were gifted all of these skills, but the guy that got the most skills, I believe, of anyone, run, throw, hit with power, defense, as well as baseball instincts. He had 6 rather than 5. Was really a special player. I think that he had a lot of things to say about the game, but at the time when Willie was playing, Hank Aaron was playing, the Willie McCubbies were playing, the Bob Gibsons were playing, they grew up in an era when you had to complain about the game or complain about society, you suppressed it. Today's player doesn't do that.
Oh, that's an interesting comment right there at the end. They played in a time where if you had a complaint, whether it be about the game or about society, you suppressed it. And today's player doesn't have to do that. And I would just like to continue what Reggie just said there. My opinion, not speaking for Reggie, I think those players, Willie very much included, are a big part of the reason why today's player doesn't have to suppress it. And I do think you'll remember what I'm talking about. I know our listeners, I'm not going to ask you to be able to reference a phone call that we got, but we had a very special call yesterday from Ron, and he talked a lot about how Willie inspired him because he was so accepted by society at large, and there was so much joy surrounding his baseball. It helped Ron with self-belief that maybe the world one day would not see him, a black man, as a lesser person. That was powerful. I think there's a lot of what Reggie is talking about in that as well.
And I hope that the modern athlete can have that sense of history and, that perspective, something that Tim Kirkshin was talking about before, not only from, a racial standpoint, but just a baseball standpoint, appreciating what's come before you so that you have an understanding. And that's really, for me, what today is about. Just watching this game from Rickwood Field is being able to learn, like Evan Giddings was saying today. It's such a great appearance filling in for Guru today on Steiny and Goo, talking about the importance of just watching and learning and listening and, learning more. I learned more today from Evan just about the Negro Leagues and Rickwood Field.
I feel like every day this week I've gone to bed knowing more about this than I did when I woke up, and I think that's awesome. That's a gift. That's what a lot of this is about, at least for me.
Hey boys,
what's up?
I've been listening back here to the TV, the Fox broadcast, and all sorts of luminaries, as you've touched on, have been on TV getting ready for the Birmingham game, the Rickwood game. And Reggie Jackson just told a wild story that really paints the picture of what it was like being a young African American playing baseball in the town of Birmingham. That was once known as the most racist city in the country. Yeah. We have the sound, and I just think you got to hear it.
Okay, let's hear it.
Coming back here is not easy. The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. But I wouldn't wish it on anybody. People said to me today, I spoke, and they said, you think you're a better person? You think you won when you played here in Concord? I said, I would never want to do it again. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, the can't eat here. I would go to a hotel and they say, the can't stay here. We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner, and they pointed me out with the N-word. He can't come in here. Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, we're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted. Fortunately, I had a manager, Johnny McNamara, that if I couldn't eat, If I couldn't, thank you. If I couldn't eat in a place, nobody would eat. We'd get food to travel. If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Had it not been for Raleigh Fingers, Johnny McNamara, Dave Duncan, Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, in 11, 12, 14 years old at a church here and never got indicted. It was they were from the Klan. Life magazine did a story on them like they were being honored. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. At the same time, had it not been for my white friends, had it not been for a white manager and Rudy, Fingers, and Duncan, and Lee Myers, I would have never made it. I was too physically violent. I was ready to physically fight some. I'd have got killed here because I'd have beat someone's ass, and you'd have saw me in an oak tree somewhere.
That's some of the most powerful stuff that we have heard all week. That's from Reggie Jackson, and all of this audio is courtesy of Fox. It really makes you feel a lot of things, and there is, unfortunately, you can put a baseball game in Birmingham, Alabama, and it is not going to be a sufficient apology or right the wrongs for not just where baseball was, but where the country was. There's no way to do that. But I think that's at the core of what is the tiniest point about this game tonight that we've talked a lot about today, and wishing that there had been a special exception so that Lamont Wade could be a part of this, and he is going to pull the lineup card out, and he is out on the field right now, and all of these things, is when you hear Reggie talk about that, that's when I go, look, stop talking about the rules. This is bigger than baseball.
Right.
It's so much bigger than baseball. And you'll say that in your advertisements for the game. I do wish that some had taken the step to act like that as well and understand that this isn't even just a rule that was meant to be broken tonight. The rule does not apply in a situation like this because this is so much more important than the outcome of tonight's baseball game.
Right. And the outcome of tonight's baseball game will be two teams who are scratching and clawing to get to 500 so they can maybe be an afterthought in a wild card race that won't be resolved for another 3.5 months or so. So no one baseball game will ever be as big as, what we're watching and we're witnessing on TV, and the ceremonial first pitch being thrown out by one of the few remaining Negro League players who's still with us, and to see Lamont Wade next to him.
Right next to him. It makes you feel even a little bit more sad that he can't play in the game, but at least he's there, and you can see the big smile on his face and the honor he must feel to be able to be a part of tonight, which is a historic game. This is not just 1 in 162. And I'm glad, Lucas, I'm glad you and Mark played that from Reggie Jackson, because that was powerful.
Yeah, and it's just the things that I'm continually learning and reminded about. The 16th Street bombing in 1963, where 4 school children were killed in church by a bomb set off by the Ku Klux Klan. It's just things in our history that we need to constantly be re-educated about and reminded about, because these are things, unfortunately, that still happen in America today, 60 years later.
Yeah, exactly. I do love the looks in the eyes right now of the living Negro League players who are out on the field. They look they look very, very proud to be acknowledged. And, come a long way, long way to go. Speaking of learning about these things,